So if you weren't here yesterday, I'm Marlu. I'm the Enchantress program lead teacher for the Red Tech Goddess Academy. And yesterday we did a lot of stuff, and I asked the ladies to come back with soul work. Do you remember what the soul work is? Anybody that was here yesterday? And did you do it? What can you share about it? So one of the soul works was if you had something interesting in your hand that you wanted to check out, you could research it. And the other one was truth testing two things. Anybody do it and share?
I
Jamie?
did. Yep,
Yay.
I did. I truth tested a lot today. From just simple things about like what kind of coffee I wanted this morning to decisions at work to what I wanted for dinner because we had to order out because I got home from work late. So yeah, I definitely did the truth testing and followed my instincts.
That's great. You see, ladies, we get to check in with ourselves. When somebody says, hey, you want to do something, check in first. Like, don't say, yeah, but check in. Do you really want it? And honor yourself if that's something you want to do or not. Okay, so anybody else want to share? No? Hi.
Hello, it's Lynn Rose.
How are you? I hadn't seen your actual face. Oh my goodness.
I'm so happy to be here, guys. I'm lifting you guys up and I'm feeling y'all's support. Goddesses, thank y'all so much for everything. I know I'm in and out and I'm popping but just know that I'm here. I think about you guys almost every day. I'm so grateful for this sisterhood and everything. You know, people that have talked to me know that I just moved to a new state from, I'm not sure what your question was, but I was just kind of, talking a little bit. So I don't really know anybody, and I'm totally heavily relying on this group for the fellowship and the connection. So if there is anybody on here that is kind of, interested or kind of on here to learn more that doesn't know about it, I definitely can affirm the connection and just this sisterhood in general. So I love you guys and I'm so grateful for this space.
Thank you. Where are you at now?
So I'm originally from Texas and I lived in Houston and Dallas both 13 years. And I traveled around all over the West Coast and for about a year and a half. And so now my spiritual life partner, Jacob, his family is actually from a small town in Wisconsin. So this goddess is now in the north and it's very seemingly random, but I'm just very grateful to be in a safe space. And it looks like I'll be here. This might be tentatively where I may be landed for my mother years as I transition out of maiden into mother. So I'm just kind of, exploring that and seeing what my path is here.
Wow, beautiful. Oh, I will pray and send you great vibes so that will happen for you
Thank you.
As you want it, as your desire.
Thank you so much, goddess. Was there a question that I kind of came on? Was there a question that you were asking?
Well, yesterday we had soul work, and it was you get to choose one of two soul works, and it was either if you looked at your palm and you saw something that was kind of curious, that you research on it, and the other one was that you would truth test at least two things. So if you did any of that, you're welcome to share.
I've been doing the truth testing. I'd heard about muscle testing and stuff like that like 10 years ago, and I definitely feel like it's really good for intuition. And last night, whenever we went into the truth testing, I did a bunch of it. And I feel like it already affirms, practices that I use to follow my intuition. And I can definitely say that the truth testing is very real. And I just kind of use it in general to try to form my intuition, but I would just kind of do like the practices in the way that you guys advised. And then I could just feel in my body what was a fuck yes and what was a hell no, being able to feel, the ecstatic yeses and what the sacred no's are. So, and then I feel like once you can kind of differentiate that, it gets easier, right? Because we are all programmed with some manipulation, and it's kind of hard sometimes, or it can be if you're not practiced to listen to your intuition. So grateful for that. And I love those practices. Yes.
I'm grateful that you were there yesterday. For those of you who were not in class in here in our circle yesterday, if you want to watch the replay, it's up on Facebook, it's up on Mighty Networks, so you could watch it. And I'll give one more person a chance to share if anybody else wants to, and if not, we'll move on.
I want to really quickly. So when I like a couple years ago, when I first moved to Florida, I ended up going to a tarot card reader who also asked to look at my hands as well. And so she told me that I have, and she showed me where they were, that there's like these two like lines, like one that goes like this and one that goes like this, that are pretty much one right after, like they're very close together. They're like just like little on the side. And she told me then that meant that I was going to have twins. And I was like, I don't even have twins in my family. Like, I don't know. And I really didn't think anything of it. And then with your homework, I Googled it, right? Because I never ever looked like into it anymore. I just kind of was like, that's interesting. Those are the lines. Okay. But then I Googled it and I see, like, from what I'm seeing, and I don't know if these are credible sources, let me be honest, but like, I don't know that that's right. I don't know if like those lines, like, it doesn't seem, from what I'm seeing, like I see that the children lines are like, from what I'm seeing, is like in the palm, not because mine are, I don't know if you could see, but they're like right, like
At the
boom,
edge.
boom, like right at the edge. And so that's what she told me then. But what I'm seeing online is not exactly, at least from what I'm getting, is not exactly in the spot. So like, I just thought that was curious. And I was like, well, I'll just mention it. I'll mention it.
Read what Jasmine put in the chat. So just to tell you, the way that I read palms is a Buddhist way. It is not the Chinese way that you're going to find in Google. It's a very unique way of reading palms. And my mentor told me never mention children or marriage. It is likely that it's going to be a relationship that will last a long time, but not necessarily marriage, because there's nothing there that says it's in paper, right? So it could be a long lasting relationship, but not necessarily marriage. And children are iffy because that's just something that's not in the palm. And when a soul wants to come through you, Marisa, you will know, like, there's something that starts to, when you're doing the work, you're doing the intuition work, you're doing the psychic work, you're doing it. So you're going to start to recognize, and what is she saying? Okay, she's talking, that's for you. So you're going to start to feel like you're ready. And then you can do like a divination, with tarot or oracle cards or pendulum, or go to someone, or you can read it yourself, and you'll see how that there's a child or a soul waiting to come through you, and I mean, it's pretty interesting when you start feeling like you're ready, like Lynn is almost there, it's going to transition too. It's a beautiful sensation, like you're shifting your whole life, really. Anybody that's a mom can say, hey, my life changed. um okay, anybody else wants to talk? Somebody wrote here. That's Nova.
I didn't know if there was time.
You want to read it, or do you want to tell us, or do you want me to read it?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll say it. So I didn't do my soul work yesterday, and I was like, darn, because I definitely wanted to. I didn't make the time, but I will continue doing the palm work and the truth testing because I got a lot of value out of it. But I was sharing on the chat a story of what happened after the class. I was like just giving myself a few episodes of Grey's Anatomy, and that's been kind of my routine. But I've also created a habit of not resting and going to bed and things like that. So I haven't quite broken the habit. But yesterday was the day I needed to go to bed. I had a client in the morning. Like it was like, I need to do this. And there was this moment where I was like, one more episode. And body was like, no. And I like knew it was my body, just listened, turned it off, and like went to bed. I haven't had that like clear signal from my body before about doing the right thing. You know, like my mind wants another episode, but my body was like, absolutely not. I want to sleep. Like we're going to bed. It was super awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Body, do I need to sleep right now? And your body will be like, okay, it's time. Truth, do I really need that much rest? And then you'll feel like, okay, I do. Or maybe not. Your body will tell you, right? Okay, so let's begin today. I'm going to share my screen to show you what we're up to. Here.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Lisette.
Hi.
Okay,
So
so
sorry I'm late.
no worries. Okay, so this is today's mini outline, and we are flexible to move things around. We're gonna first go through some self-love prompts. So you're gonna pull out your paper and your pen because that's the next thing. And then we're gonna continue with paper and pen just for a little more because I'm going to give you a 3-question quiz that will decide which type of procrastinator you are. Everybody is a little bit of a procrastinator, and sometimes you're a mixed, not a classic one type of procrastinator, but most people are more one type of procrastinator than another. So you'll get to see that which one you most, and I'm going to share with you the type of activities you can do for yourself so that you can stop procrastinating, so that you can get your things done. And because we also want to do a goal setting later on today, because remember yesterday we did a future meditation where we met our future self, and I wanted to see if you could do a goal setting after you would do the procrastination, and you think about your family, and you think about your future, and we'll do a goal setting for that. After we do the procrastination, we're going to have a little talk about some types of mental illness that are depression, anxiety, and mindfulness, and what we can do when it's not so exaggerated and that you don't need therapy. And oftentimes you don't need therapy. You just need to follow some mindfulness exercises that we're going to go through today to keep you at bay from depression, from anxiety, from stress, from feeling that overwhelmed sensation. So we're going to talk about that. And after we talk about it, you could choose whether you want to go with Lisette into the codependency break room, or if you want to go with me in setting your own boundaries. And then we'll do the goal setting, and then we'll give you the gift, which today's gift will be a card cutting session from me. And I'm going to tell you what that is if you don't know what that is before we give it to you. So take out your pen and your pencil. And your first question, and let me see if I can put some music, right? Wouldn't that be nice? Let's see if I can put some music. First question, what makes you unique? What makes me unique? You could bullet point it, you could write about it, whatever works. Can you hear that? I don't know if I put sound and sharing. Can you hear it? No?
No,
Okay.
didn't. No.
Now I can hear it. Okay. So, what makes me unique? When you have that, then can you hear me okay with the music? Okay. Then you're going to write about how you can bring more of that uniqueness that you bring to the world. How can you bring more of it? How can you serve others and yourself with that uniqueness? Give you 2 minutes to write that. And then and and then you want to also write about
the computer for less than just my computer.
somebody's got their mic on and what do I wish someone else would tell me? Right, like a bullets on that or a paragraph. What do I wish someone would tell me? And after you've written that, think about how you can tell that to yourself, show it to yourself. Start to wrap it up. And how's everybody feeling? What did this exercise tell you about you that you didn't think you knew? Jaslyn says, what makes me unique? my specific way of viewing the world, my body, my fingerprints, my DNA, my ancestry, my her story, every single decision that I make in the here and now, and for my future. How can I bring more of my uniqueness into the world? I am getting into creativity. No one can write the same book as I do, word for word. No one can create the same masterpiece as me. What is the last question? What do I wish someone would tell me? Tasnova answered. And how can I tell it to myself? Thank you, Tasnova. Anybody want to share? No pressure.
I'll share.
Okay.
Um, what do I wish someone would tell me? I wish someone would say that I'm a real successful role model. That I wish someone would say I'd like to be more like you. Um, I wish someone would say I'd like to follow in your footsteps. So that's what I wish someone would say. And what I say to myself is I'd like to be that role model, and really feel like a role model, not just outwardly, but really feel it, and be one with that energy of being a role model in every way, spiritual, mental, physical, in every capacity.
Hmm. So you're telling yourself, say it again. What are you telling yourself?
I'm telling myself that I want to be the best version of myself so that I can be a real role model to others.
Can you, rather than saying, I want to be the best version of yourself, how can you make that more powerful?
I am the best version of myself.
Yes. Does everybody agree? Yeah. I am the best version of myself. Yes. Present tense rather than in the future. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I am. Write it, put it somewhere. I am. And what happens when you see that you in a memo pad or somewhere, it's like, yeah, I am. And so you become that, right?
Yes. Very true. Thank you. Thanks for the reminder.
Welcome. I have in the chat, how can I tell it to myself? Hey, Jaslyn, yeah, you writing this. You can do and be anything and everything you want. It's totally normal to be interested in new things and want to experience the world in different ways instead of the exact same way every single day. That's me too. There is so much to do and be, and you learn the basics plus, and then find something else to pick up and learn. What if that is your purpose, to experience everything that comes my way as if it's my first time? Yeah, you don't know, right? I'm not sure. You could have so many purposes. Does anybody else want to share? Or that anything that came up that maybe you hadn't thought about that
I'll
I can?
share the what makes me unique. I had a hard time with that one, trying to come up with something. And I've been told by a number of people that I have a very natural calming ability, and natural healing abilities. So how can I bring more of that into the world? Dive into that more, maybe take some classes and just share my abilities with more people.
Your natural abilities. Beautiful. Awesome.
Reiki comes to mind, Jamie.
Yeah, that's where I'm heading next.
Amazing. And so that you know, those two right there, Marlu and Lisette, they offer all the Reiki levels.
Yeah. We have one coming up in November and one coming up in December and one coming up in January. If you're interested, we'll tell you about it. Anybody else want to share before we move on? No, everybody wants to do the quiz, right? To see what kind of procrastinator you are. Awesome. Let's share the screen. Okay. So here comes the quiz. Okay, first of all, what is procrastination, right? So you could ask people what is procrastination, and everybody's going to tell you it's leaving things off, like putting things away, like off for a different time. And oftentimes you feel like ashamed or guilty that you didn't get it done, right? So I'm here to tell you guilt and shame, you want to toss that out the window. You want to toss it out the window because that is not going to help you in anything that you do in this lifetime. It's a matter of committing to a task, and if you can't commit because it's not fun for you, and you check in. What can you do to make it fun? Or what can you do to maybe shift something about it to make it more like aligned with your energy? So changing that a little bit, okay? So procrastination has become like everybody is procrastinating, right? And it doesn't mean that you have a problem. It's because everybody's got some procrastination abilities. It's very common. It's a tendency that we have. And so learning how to overcome your major procrastination is what we're here for today. So your first question, I'm going to write down in which type of procrastinator are you, is you get to put an A, a B, or a C on your paper. And if two of these align to you, which one aligned first? That's the one you put. And then which one aligns second? You have a dream, but A, when you plan your action steps towards that dream, it stays on paper. You don't work it. B, when you have a dream, you get distracted as you work toward it. And C, you have a dream, but you start other projects along the way. So you're doing so many. Which one? Question number 2. And if you need me to go back, let me know. You have a deadline, but A, you create scenarios and excuses in your mind of why it can't be done. Say that again. A is you have a deadline, but you start to create things in your mind of why it's impossible. B, you have a deadline, but other things are more interesting, so you don't get started until it's too late. So now you have a very small deadline, and you might even go over your deadline because you were doing something else that was funner. And C, you have a deadline, but you were involved in something else. Like you let it go because you were doing something else. You never even got to it.
Can you put two of them?
Yeah, but see, check in which one sounds like it's the most and which one sounds like you do it sometimes. So put one, prioritize one. You can have more than one. You can have them all. Okay. I'm going to go to 3. If you need more time for 2, let me know. Question number 3. You have an old, interesting project, but A, you stopped working on it, and then you worry about it. Like, I really need to get back to it. B, you have an old, interesting project, but other projects need your attention, or other projects are more interesting to work on. C, you have an old, interesting project, but there's a new idea you want to work on now, and you have other unfinished projects that were a good idea once. Okay, so we're going to find out what type of procrastinator you are. And the activities that I'm going to show you to help you to stop being a procrastinator, I received that from Jennifer Grace, who is or was the #1 life coach in South Florida in the years 2016 and 2017. And Jaslyn worked with her for over a year, I think like 2 years. And that this information came to me from Jaslyn. And then I created the quiz and the slides and the class. But this information originally came from Jennifer Grace. And I want to credit her because it's the right thing to do. Okay, so there's 3 categories, ladies. Category A, you're considered stopped. You have a dream, but you're paralyzed in the process. Category B, if you have more B's in your paper, you're into stalling, right? You have a deadline, but you have other things that you want to do, and you stall until it's too late. And category C is spinning. Spinning means that you have tons of projects started and you don't finish any. So look at your paper and see if you have more A's, more B's, or more C's.
I forgot to write down A, B, and C. Is there any way we can go back to the slide?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. #1, you have a dream, but let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
2, you have a dream, or you have a deadline, but
All right, I'm good.
and 3, you have an old interesting project, but
Got it. Thank you.
you're welcome. So now you see if you have 2 A's and 1 C, or 2 B's and 1 A, or whatever it is, and see if there's more than one of any of these. And then that's what you're going to concentrate on, but still look at the rest of them. Okay? You ready?
Mhm.
Excitement.
Wait,
If you
wait,
okay, what?
wait.
What?
Let me go back to the spinning one. Sorry. Sorry about that.
Spinning is tons of projects are started, but you don't get any finished. Stalling is you find other things to do, so you kind of miss out on it, or you've started too late. And A is you just paralyzed. You might have a goal, you have a dream, but it's sitting there and you're doing nothing with it. You never even got started. So in your head, think, okay, I'm in the stopped category, or I'm in the stalling, or I'm in the spinning. Ready? If you had mostly A's and you are in the stopped category, the stopped is fear-based, okay? When you stop doing something, when you never even start something, is because you're worried that you're not going to make it through, or you're worried that you're going to succeed. So there's fear of failure, there's fear of success, right? But it is fear-based. If you never even started, it's because something is keeping you in the fear process. You either think that you're going to fail, or you fear that you're going to succeed. So this is the hero's journey. So when you have an idea, you first start with an idea, right? You start to work it, and then you know that this is something you want to do. You get the call. You initiate it, you start it, and maybe down here you start to realize it's not really working out, and if you don't go back to starting over again, you're going to quit. So the idea is for you to come back to initiating it again, finding a different way to start it. And then if it's not working, you come back again. And what happens is, in the middle, you want to bring allies with you. Maybe bring sisters, bring friends. And those allies will help you to create more power towards it, so that before you know it, you break through, and then you celebrate. Has anybody seen the hero's journey before? Yeah. So the idea is to start and recognize that when you are in the process of creating it, it's not going to, you're never going to go straight up, or you're never going to go straight. It's always going to be a spiral. You're always going to have to fail a few times before you can win. That is normal. And knowing that ahead of time, you can just say, oh, well, okay, I failed 4 times. Then it didn't, don't call it fail, call it a learning experience. And it's part of the process of the hero's journey. The hero is not a hero right away. He has to go through some aspects of testing before he can get to the breakthrough. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So do you understand this? Does anybody need me to explain it again? Jocelyn's here. Thank you for coming. Okay, so fear mixed with excitement is a yes, because then a dream can change the world. So the idea is to give yourself excitement. And if you get collaboration with other people, that will motivate you to move forward. So get collaboration, get excited, and realize that you're going to have some fails. There's going to be some tests on there, and you're not going to win right away. And you just got to restart the project and shape it a little bit different, and then see how that goes. And if that doesn't work, start again, reshape it, and go again. Does that make sense? So you got 3 things that can help you when you are stopped, to motivate you to move forward and to stop the fear. These are some tools you can use. You can journal. What's the worst thing that will happen if I fail? And can I handle it? Then you journal, what's the worst thing that can happen if I succeed? And then you want to journal, what's the best thing that can happen if I succeed? And is that worth the possible failure? And when you journal this and you really think about it, you'll recognize that it's okay if you fail, it's okay if you succeed. And what is stopping you? And I'm going to leave that up so you can write it for another minute. This is something you want to use whenever you are in fear of starting something new. And let me know when you're ready. Okay. If you need more time, let me know. All right. So stop can also come from overwhelm. It's very similar to fear, but it can come from being overwhelmed. Now, if overwhelm is just a thought, overwhelm is a choice. You can choose to be overwhelmed or you can choose to take it in very small steps. Have you ever seen that picture of a bunch of steps up and you're looking at all these steps and you're thinking, how am I going to get up there? Instead of looking at all the steps, look at the first step. Step on it, then go to the next step. Step on it. Okay? Anything can be done in small sections. And so rather than saying, I'm so overwhelmed, come back to where you are right now and look at what's the next step and choose to take it in very small steps. It is a choice, ladies. I never want to hear anybody say I'm overwhelmed because I will tell them, okay, so look at one, what is in front of you, and how can you bring it back to a small step? If you
I
ever
have a
feel that way, come get me. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I have a quick question. Um, this one that we're going over right now, the overwhelm and the one of the fear that you mentioned, that's type A, procrastinator type A.
Yeah, that's the stopped.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, so we're still on A, right? I just wanted to
Mhm.
make sure that I didn't miss something.
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
You, yeah. You stopped is fear based, but it also can come from overwhelm.
Okay.
And overwhelm is a small way of fearing that you don't think that you can make it because it's too much. So does that make sense? If you've ever felt overwhelmed, to recognize that it's a choice. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes. All right, now we're going to skip B. We're going to come back to B. We're going to do C, which is stalling. Okay. So stalling requires some planning. It requires some scheduling, selecting a time period and becoming committed, where that time period is non-negotiable. Okay, you create those productive hours from this time to this time, and nothing else gets in the way. You get committed. If you're going to write a book, every night you're going to write how many words or from what time to what time, and you get committed to it. You write it in your calendar. So a tool that you can use for if you're a staller is to prepare beforehand. You know, like for example, if you know that you are someone that doesn't hold your urine very much and you're going to take a long trip, then you know what can you do, right? You start to think about, okay, I'm going to have to take some extra pads. I know it's kind of weird that I'm talking about this, but it happens to be that someone in my family has this problem and we worked on it. So, you know, you don't want to sabotage your future. You want to beforehand plan ahead, right? So, if you know that you're not going to be drinking water very easily today because you know you've got a really full day, prepare your bottle of water ahead of time and take it with you everywhere, right? Can you give me an example, anybody, of preparing beforehand, like planning your meals on Sunday for the whole week so that you have organic, natural meals? Anybody else got an idea?
Make a list of items that you'll need if you're going on a trip or something like that.
Yes, right. Rather than waiting till the last minute and then you're forgetting everything, right?
I'm sorry. Can you show the slide right before this one? That one. Sorry. Negotiable.
Oh, I have one. So, like, one of the things I do is I never like to deal with like laundry. And so I will always start with cleaning my kitchen and doing everything else under the sun first. And so if I get ahead of cleaning the kitchen, then there's nothing left to do but the laundry.
So maybe you can create like an hour a week with that's
Thank
your laundry hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's that sound? And then you have it in your agenda. Oh man, it's my laundry hour. I know you're gonna find something else. I know. But that's one way to do it. It's putting it in your schedule. Okay. All right. Another one is to get a timer. But don't do it on your phone because it's so easy to get it off your phone, right? You put a real timer and you put it far from you. So you have to get up and turn it off. And then that timer is telling Kim, it's laundry time. Boop, 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 boop. And now you're like, okay, my timer's telling me I got to do it because I did this for a reason. I put this timer up for a reason. Another one is to put a post-it note in front of you. You could put something like, do you want it or not? It keeps you aware that this is something that's for you and it's something that's your dream. It's something that's a goal, or maybe it's something you need to do for work that without it, it's mandatory. And without it, you could lose your job or it's for whatever it is. But you put it in front of you, making you aware that this is, if you have to put it in several places, in your wallet, in your mirror, in your bathroom, whatever it takes to put it in front of you. And this is the review for the stalling tools. Create productive hours, non-negotiable. Select the time period you can be 100% committed. So that's scheduling it. 2 is sabotage your future when possible, because you know you're not going to want to do it. You know that laundry is just growing, and you're not going to want to. You're going to rather dance or talk to someone instead of doing the laundry. So prepare beforehand by using whatever it is that you need to do. In this case, you're not going to use the restroom for the laundry, but you get the idea. Number 3, you get a timer. And number 4, post-it notes. Does that help anybody? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So now we're going to go back to the bees spinning. So spinning, you want to choose one thing to do, because a person that spins is all over the place, has a lot of projects, and you need to focus on one. And then what I do, because I'm a spinner, is I decide that all of it is going to go under one umbrella. Red tent goddess, for example. Everything's under red tent goddess, or everything's under this particular career, but I put everything under one umbrella. And then from that umbrella, I take little pieces. Okay, I'm still doing what I need to do, but I'm taking little pieces because that's just the way I am. I don't finish it unless it has to get done, right? So I start doing little things here and there, but I put it under one umbrella so I don't feel shame, I don't feel guilty, and everything gets done one thing at a time. I focus on it for 30 minutes, then I focus on something else for 30 minutes or 1 hour or however you need, whatever you need. You make a declaration, you're gonna stick to it. For example, this declaration is great. I feel blank. I feel excited. I am now, in my case, a life coach that has a waiting list and people are excited to pay premium prices to see me. Or I feel overjoyed or I feel blessed. I am now blank, whatever it is. I am grateful. I am now healthy, whatever it is. Okay. So you make the declaration and you'll stick to it. I feel excited. I am now, I have now all my clothes clean. I can choose from any of my clothes because they're all ready for me. Another thing you're going to do is you want to tell someone you need a lot of times an accountability partner. So you choose a person that you know is going to talk to you and say, hey, you know that thing we talked about? Did you get it done? Oh man, you know what? I didn't. I started doing this other thing. And then that person's going to tell you, I'm your accountability partner for a reason. I'm reminding you this has got to get done. I believe in you. That makes sense. Have you ever had an accountability partner? Yeah, it works. It works, especially if they really care for you and they're using tough love. Hey man, told me you wanted to get this done. So the review is you choose one thing to do, maybe put them all under one umbrella that helps. You make a declaration and that you're gonna stick to it, and you tell someone you have an accountability partner. Okay, so that's it for procrastination. Questions? Go ahead.
I'd like to share something before we move on.
Mhm.
Spinning, I am definitely one of those. I any given point reading multiple books, doing different trainings, doing different creations. It's if you could get in my head. I'm like, and I know that you're women, so you get me. I think we are pretty much multi-potential, right? We can hold multiple potentials at once. Men can really only hold one. So for me, it's really hard to just focus on one because there's just so many. And so what I do is it's almost like I'm taking a strategy from one and another one from the other one. I take one step, like I'm like, okay, I'll just read a little bit of the book. I'll keep working on my project A, and then I'll go do the events I have to do. And I kind of just go around and then I just take one step in all the projects at once, and somehow that works. And of course, there's some of them that I am, they are time bound. So I have to put, certain times. Like the segment training is something I'm creating as I go along, which is been really interesting because in the past I'm always kind of want to wait to have it all done and then I jump in. So it's been really beautiful to see how I'm stretching myself to create and know that I have to do it. So anyway, that helps. I try to not look up at the stairs and see how much I still have to go because then I'm going to complete overwhelm. So it was, of course, overwhelm showed up. And for many years, overwhelm would just really cause stress. So I've chosen to not look at what still needs to be done. I know it's a lot, and just take the one step with all the projects. And it's working. I mean, my adrenals are exhausted, so I know that there's a lot there too, and I'm working on that, right? This whole process, this healing process. But I love that I'm not stressing about it anymore. So that's the big win for me. Okay, sure.
Awesome. No stress, no stress, ladies, no stress. That's what we're going for. We're not perfect, right? None of us are perfect, and we get to do it when we get to do it. But find a strategy that works so that you can have your dreams come true. We want to see all of you make it, make it to the end, to whatever your dreams are, and whatever it takes. Yes, Jaslyn.
Marlu,
Yes.
Kim asked if you can go back to the review slide.
Okay. I'm going to do it right now.
I just wanted to screenshot the spinning review slide. Thank you.
That's it?
That's it. I got it.
Got it. Okay. Wait, hold on. Now I need to get up. Okay. So what we're going to do next is we're going to talk about depression, anxiety, and mindfulness. Okay. And we're going to share a little bit. So more women than men have mental illness or similar things. Like, it's not necessarily mental illness, although people say it is. And we have a therapist here that can tell us. But the therapists say that depression and anxiety are also mental illness. I don't consider it because I think a lot of people have a little bit of depression or a little bit of anxiety at some point in their life. And what I have found is that depression and anxiety keep you not in the present moment. So if you often have depression, you're thinking about your past. You're worrying about what could have been. You might feel guilty, you might feel shame, but it's in the past already. And what are you doing there? Right? And if you're feeling anxiety, you're worried about something that hasn't happened yet. You're worried about, yeah, something that hasn't happened in the future. So why worry about something that hasn't happened? And have you ever worried about something that you thought was going to happen and it never happened? So learn from that, right? So the answer to depression and anxiety is to be in the present moment, to live the here and now. Okay. Obviously, there are some people who have a really strong mental illness and need medicine, but the idea is for us to not have to need medicine and to be able to control ourselves and protect ourselves and guide ourselves. And we can do that by utilizing some of the tools. Journaling is perfect because you can journal the things that anger you, the things that are keeping you awake at night. Hopefully, you're not staying awake at night and you're not bottling anything up. You're putting it on paper and letting it go, letting the paper take it, letting God take it, letting the angels take it, letting the goddess take it, letting it go so that it no longer is part of your thoughts, right? And another thing you can do is breath work. So I know some of you are very good with breath work. Kim is amazing with breath work. Tasnova, I've heard you do really well too. Jaslyn too. Um, I'm going to show you a breath work that I do with kids and teenagers, especially with kids, that works. And I teach this to my class, and then I see the kids doing it in other classes and right before tests and before they see the principal and things like that. Kids love it, and adults love it too. It's very simple to do. You can do it under the desk one day if you need to. It's fast, and all you need is your hand, your full hand. It's called the starfish breath work. And I'm going to teach it to you really fast. And we're not going to do it, but you breathe in as you go up. And here you either hold your breath or you can do an affirmation. For example, I can. So you're breathing in, here you say, I can, and here you breathe out. And then you come back up, breathing in, you hold, or you say, I can, and then you breathe out. And you continue that all the way to here. It's fast, it's easy, and even children can learn that. Okay. There's a lot of different breath works that you can do. If you don't have one that you go to, that it's your go-to, reach out to me. I'll teach you a couple, or to Kim or Lisette or Jazz, and we'll be happy to help. Meditation is the other one, because then you check in with yourself. They say that prayer is asking God and meditation is receiving the answer. But you're really receiving the answer from yourself, right? What am I missing? What else do you want to talk about? Can you tell me about any depression that you've gone through, or somebody that you know has gone through anxiety, and how do you think that person or yourself can be helped? Let's talk
Can I
about
make
that.
a may I make a comment about depression and anxiety?
Of course, you're the therapist.
Thanks. Okay, so like Marlu says, everyone at some point or another can experience depression, sadness, anxiety, stress. All of these are common um, emotions, common states of mind, right? That we can all experience at different times. What Marlu said is correct. Absolutely. That depression is when you're thinking about the past and dwelling on the past. Anxiety is when you are concerned and worried about the future. The difference between, when people say mental health or a mental disorder, we're talking about anxiety or depression that is out of control, that is pathological, meaning that it's not something easy to tackle on your own or with the help of a coach. It's when your life becomes completely unmanageable. That's when depression or anxiety reach the point that you could see yourself in a situation where you do need an actual therapist, or in some cases, seeing a doctor for medication. But that is, of course, when it's extreme and when it's something out of your control, that you've used all the tools, you've reached out for help, but your life really feels unmanageable. Then that's where you could say we're diving into the realm of mental disorder or mental, or bad mental health. In other words, that you would need that kind of help. So I just wanted to just give you that little tidbit of the difference between an average depression and anxiety, because it's situational, something that you're going through in your daily life, or something that it becomes unmanageable. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody want to
I'll
share?
piggyback. Yeah. Um, so in my early 20s, I ended up having my first full-blown panic attack while I was driving. I didn't crash, thank God, but I thought I was going to crash the car. All of a sudden, it just happened. And then I was able to get home. Luckily, I was a few feet from my driveway, actually, of my house. And I didn't drive for 3 months because just sitting in the front seat of the car, like in the driver's seat, gave me an instant panic attack. Like, couldn't breathe, thought I was going to die, heart pounding out of my chest, sweating to death, crying hysterical. And it was for 3 months. I couldn't even fathom it. And I was home from college that summer, and I ended up getting on medication, went to the doctor, went to the people, did what I had to do. And I was on that medication for a really long time. It was low dose, luckily, thank God, because they kind of work your way up to get you to the therapeutic level. I also work in mental health and worked in mental health after that point. So it was interesting to like learn afterwards how to process. But I have actually been off medication now for almost 2 years. And it's been and I'm 36, so it's been many years that I was like on and off this meds, and then I tried getting off of it again, like in my like early like late 20s, and did okay for a while, but then found myself like in another instance just full blown panic attack again. Um, and it was a mixture of anxiety and depression. So that was really, it was like both were like kind of pummeling me, and I had no tools or real support system outside the doctor, who I used to think then like they don't really know me, you know what I mean, like they don't know what I go through, they don't know what I've been through, blah blah blah. But then I've done, Marlu knows, I've done a lot of transformational work since moving to Florida and learning how to be present in the present moment. And that's why I'm super happy to say that I've weaned myself off of anxiety meds about 2 years ago, and I've been maintaining and actually have been like, for the first time, I feel like I've been truly living my life without that debilitating panic and depression moments. So it's interesting because, you know, I have had instances and circumstances that have come up that have been like jarring, right? Like I had a death in my family. My uncle passed away a few months ago, and I had a moment of being like, what I like to say, like totally out of my body. I lived in down here. My uncle's in Connecticut. I didn't know how I was going to get there. It was all fear of not knowing what was going to happen, like fear of the future per se. But then meditation, I was luckily able to like I reached out for support, which I now, since I moved here, I have support and people I can call to help me get out of that spiral. And then was able to do a meditation with another person that I know, and she got me back into my body, or helped me get myself really back into my body. And now it's like having these outside tools. Like I have no desire to go, I drive, I'm like totally great. Like actually I think I'm more happy and outgoing now than I probably ever have been in the last 20 years prior to moving here. And so it's interesting to hear like the mental health like literal part. Like I was a mess, like let's be honest, looking at it, and then to see how much, you know, getting present in the present moment, taking the small steps like we've been talking about to not overwhelm, and then like going to meditation and reaching out for support in those ways with people who I trust, you know, that alone has really maintained it. And then I like giggle at like how I used to react and things, how I used to be, and so it's just that flip side of like being like truly mentally, and it's funny, but like being mentally ill in that way, because I was not okay, and like now I'm like, all right, come at me, life, like not literally, I shouldn't put everything in the atmosphere, but you know what I'm saying, like my car just broke down the other week, and like normally that, and I don't have a car right now, and like normally that would have sent me in a whole whew, and I cried a little bit, had to take some breaths, took a walk to the beach, meditated, and I'm okay. Like there's a way to get grounded and then know that there's beautiful things in the future instead of like being so fearful. I know I just said a lot, but I think that like I'm a pretty good example of like that debilitative state, and now this
Healthy.
like flourishing healthy state and off medicine, you know, and things like that, and using holistic, I would say, tools like meditation and things like that to really
If you
be
were to say
present.
one tool that really helped you, which one would it be?
Well, can I say breath work and meditation, and because they're kind of one of the same. So learning how to control my breathing, and like breathing, like I would say breathing into the top of my head through meditation as well, like to literally open that up so then things can be released, but then also to like get grounded back into my body, you know. So breath work and meditation, I would say, go hand in hand, and that's been the most, and I have control over that to a certain degree, which I'm also pretty controlling as a, not like to have, I'm a little controlling, let's just put it that way. So to know that I can just put on like a guided meditation where I totally surrender to the meditation and not have to control it and just go through it, is, and breathe, you know, and be, I'm in control of my body in that way. And it just gets me centered and clear.
So it helps to surrender.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great. Congratulations. That's awesome. So one of the things that brings up mental illness is codependency. A lot of women are codependent to their men because, right, you know what I'm talking about. And so, if you have experienced codependency, today you're going to have an opportunity to speak to a mental health facilitator, Lisette, and we're going to have breakout rooms in a little bit, and you can go to her. And if that doesn't really work for you, we are going to have another breakout room with me. And in this breakout room, we're going to talk about setting boundaries and what that looks like. Because when you have boundaries, you can request for everything for your life and all your needs to be met with by setting boundaries. And so that will be our next stop. It's we're going to do breakout rooms, and you get to choose. And if you're in one and you want to skip to the other, you can do that. You'll have full freedom to do that. And we're going to take maybe 15, 20 minutes with that. Okay. Does anybody else feel like sharing anything of what we've talked about today before we go into breakout rooms? Okay. Right, Lisette. You can get off your mic. Gonna put your mic, take the mic off silent, because here we go. We're gonna open all the rooms, and you get to choose. Okay, they're all on the side. Do you see? No. Okay. Do you see? Yeah, you're seeing it, because I can see that some people are joining. All right. I'm gonna go to my room. I'll see you there. Is anybody having trouble seeing the breakout rooms?
Oh, I got it.
You got it? Okay.
Marlu, am I supposed to see something? Because I don't see anything yet.
Yeah, you're supposed to see. Let me put you. Okay. Let me put you in. Okay, I'm putting you in.
Okay.
Put herself in a room.
Okay. Are we all? Oh, hello.
No, not yet. So there's 2 breakout rooms. Oh,
Okay.
she must have gone out by accident. Oh no. Um,
Are we in a breakout
all right,
room
let's
yet
go.
or no?
No, you have to click a breakout room, and you're the host, so I can't even do it for you right now.
Oh, because I didn't see anything on the screen for me to click on.
Okay, she's back.
See? Oh. Yeah, I didn't see anything to click on yet.
Okay. Assign
Explain
to.
it if you look around.
Oh, now
All right.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So, once again, for anyone that's watching the recording, my name is Lisa. If you don't know me, I'm also known as Aislinn Wolf, which is my spiritual name. I am the facilitator of the Priestess program in the Goddess Academy. And I'm also a trauma specialist and a mental health counselor and have been a therapist for over 10 years. Okay. And one of my specialties that I work with is trauma, because I am specialized in trauma. And I work with codependency quite often. Most of the time that I have worked in codependency, I've worked with women, but I have worked with men as well, and of course, children. Now, let's start by saying, what is codependency? So there are a lot of definitions for codependency, and a lot of people have different opinions on what is codependency. Okay. The obvious definition is that you are dependent on another person. Okay. That is the, what I call the obvious definition. It is what they call a personality disorder, if we're talking in mental health terms, which is called dependent personality disorder. That's where the term codependency originally comes from. Now, I will tell you that codependency has many different facets, okay? And sometimes it's not as obvious as it seems. It usually is a trauma response, okay? Most people that are codependent, if they can search and go back in time, they will have some kind of trauma response from early childhood, okay? Now, can you be codependent and have had a wonderful childhood? Yes, that is very possible. And some people can say, and I have done therapy with people that say, well, I had a wonderful childhood. I don't have any traumas. I don't remember having had any nasty things happen to me. And yet I still feel codependent. So I'll talk a little bit about that. First, I'd like to define what trauma is, okay? Trauma is, of course, when you think of trauma, you think of the obvious, a car accident, you think of maybe somebody that came from the war, you think of PTSD, okay? Those are all like obvious forms of trauma, somebody that has had a bad fall or has had anything physically impacting, okay? Or seen someone die or been a victim of a crime, okay? Those are the obvious forms of trauma, right? When we think of trauma, that's normally what people will automatically think that this is trauma. But trauma can be very subtle. Trauma can be that you were neglected as a child. Trauma can be that your father maybe left your home when you were very little, or maybe your mom was just too busy and worked 2-3 jobs and just didn't have enough time for you. There are very different, there are many different forms of what I call childhood trauma. And it's like I'm saying, some are obvious, some are not so obvious. The most important thing is, how did you experience those events in your life, right? And no two people, I want to say this, no two people have the same trauma response, meaning you could have two people that went through the exact same situation, okay, same scenario. One of them will come out of it with trauma, and the other one, for whatever reason, did not process it as a traumatic experience. Okay. So when I do therapy, one of the things I do, there's a test that I give to adults and to children to see if there is trauma. Why? Because sometimes you can ask a person, have you experienced trauma? And most people, unless it's something like what I mentioned, something, obvious, they'll say, no, I've never experienced trauma. I had a wonderful childhood and I can't remember ever having any traumatic experience. But when we start digging and going a little deeper, okay, we start to uncover that there is in fact some trauma. Now, what does trauma have to do with codependency? Well, I'm going to give you a really good scenario that happens to a lot of people. I'm going to give you the scenario of a child, for example, whose mother was very busy. Okay, mother worked 2 jobs, mother was a single mom, very, very busy, didn't have a lot of time, tried her best to have as much time as she could with her children, but due to life circumstance, she just couldn't do more. Okay, so the child would go to bed sometimes and where's mom? Mom's still at work. And maybe mom got to spend maybe half an hour or 1 hour a day with the child because she worked late and the child had to go to bed to go to school the next day. Now, mom did her best There's no blame here, but the child has now developed internally a complex of, well, maybe I'm just not good enough. Maybe I'm just not a priority for mom, and sometimes these things are unconscious. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not as obvious as it sounds, but it's something that the child feels, okay, and grows up with that feeling of insecurity. And now the child develops a desperate need to spend more time with mom, right? Now the child really wants mom's attention, right? Because mom's so busy, mom doesn't have the time. So now the child is trying really hard to do whatever they can do to get mom's attention, right? So here is where codependency starts to take place. Mom gets upset, mom yells because mom's overwhelmed, overworked, and tired. What does the child do? Oh, okay, mom, no problem, mom. Sure, mom, what can I do to help you, mom? And now this child is bending over backwards to please mom, right? This child is doing whatever they can possibly do to make mom happy. Why? Because they don't get to see mom enough. And the little time they get to see mom, that time is precious. That time means a lot. So they go above and beyond, right? Above and beyond to spend time with mom, to be with mom, and for mom to be happy, for mom to accept them, for mom to be proud, right? So on the surface, I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. We all want to please our parents, right? Especially when we're children. We want our parents to be happy, and we want our parents to support us and to be proud of us. But what happens when that natural feeling takes on a life of its own? What happens when that child now grows up and now it's no longer mom in the picture? Now mom gets replaced by teacher, best friend, social circle, boss, significant other, husband or wife. You see where I'm going? That natural tendency is now what we call codependency. Why? Because now this child is now an adult, and that same need never went away. It never disappeared. It didn't just end when they became an adult and now they're no longer trying to please mom. Now that grew with them, and now they're taking that on with every relationship they have. Now they're taking that on in every social circle they're in. Why? Because they never learned how to break that pattern. Okay. And it's an internal trauma response, and they don't know how to change it. Now, what is one of the things that defines a codependent person? Codependent person is a person that relies on someone else to the point that sometimes they start to disappear, meaning your needs are no longer important because everybody else's needs are more important. So there's a lot of terms for this. Sometimes people commonly call codependents people pleasers. Have you ever heard the term people pleasers? Oh, she's a people pleaser. What does the term people pleaser mean? Meaning that they will do anything to please others. Why? Because they desperately want validation. They desperately want to be loved. They desperately want to be accepted. And they want people to be proud of them, right? And once again, where does that come from? A lot of the times it comes from childhood, but it becomes a pattern, right? It becomes a pattern, and most people are not even aware that they have that pattern. They grow up with that, and that's how they look at the world, and that's how they deal with others. Unfortunately, what happens is a lot of people take advantage of codependent people. Okay. And then this is where these people grow up to have dysfunctional relationships and dysfunctional families. And then what happens is, not wanting to do this, but because it's so innate, their children sometimes end up becoming codependent or narcissists. Now, what is the opposite of a codependent person? A narcissist. And what is a narcissist? A narcissist is a person that is also suffering a trauma response. Believe it or not, a lot of narcissism comes from, once again, early trauma. But they process things a little bit different. They want so desperately to be loved and to be accepted that they bring on that love, acceptance, and validation to themselves in a pathological way, meaning that now it becomes a, well, I love myself so much that there's no room for anyone else. That's a narcissist. That's a narcissistic person or a narcissistic tendency, is you love yourself to the point that there's no room for anyone else. Now, do you really love yourself to the point that there's no room for anyone else? If you go deep into the psyche of a narcissistic person, you will find codependency traits, because codependency and narcissism are two sides of a coin. They're two sides of a mirror. Okay? That's why a lot of people that are narcissistic will be codependent as well. Why? Because the moment that you don't pay attention to a narcissist, what happens? A narcissist will come back and desperately try to get your attention again, right? Because they want that. It's like a drug. They need the validation. They need you to love them. They need you to worship them. They need you to tell them that they're amazing, because it helps them feel better. Does that make sense? Now, what is the one way that you can deal with codependency in a healthy way? Well, one of them is to acknowledge when you are codependent, to know that you are codependent. Okay. And how do you know that? There's a lot of tests that you can take. There's even online tests that help you determine whether you are codependent. But I can tell you right now one very valuable test. When you cannot set boundaries, when you allow people to dictate how you live your life, and when you put value in other people's opinion above your own opinion, that, I guarantee you, is codependency. Okay? So in other words, others' opinions are more important than your own. You need validation for everything. It's hard for you to function and go through life without being validated and accepted by others, and you go out of your way to please other people to the point that you are unhappy, to the point that you don't please yourself because you're so busy pleasing others. That is definitely a sign of codependency. Okay? So that's one thing I can tell you right off the bat, that if you feel that way, you are either codependent or you have what we call codependent tendencies, meaning that you may not be a full-blown codependent, but you have some tendencies of codependency. Okay? Now, can you work on not being codependent? Yes. Is it difficult? Sometimes it can be. But is it doable? Yes, it is doable. Okay? It is doable. One of the things that you can do in order to overcome codependency or to work on being less codependent is to learn how to start valuing yourself. Okay? Boosting your self-esteem, learning what makes you you, what makes you special, what makes you different. Like Marlu did a little bit earlier, what makes you unique. That's important for you to be in touch with that, because that is going to help you learn your value. Because what is the number one problem people that are codependent have? That they don't realize how valuable they truly are. They don't see their own value. And so they look for their value in other people. Okay, so setting boundaries is extremely important. Okay, knowing how to set proper boundaries. Now, setting boundaries is tricky. And why is it tricky? Because sometimes, who are the hardest people to set boundaries with? People we love, right? It's easy to set boundaries with strangers, but it's very difficult to set boundaries with people you love and you care for, right? And that's the key to overcoming codependency and to work on not being codependent, is being able to recognize when you are not setting proper boundaries. So for example, I'm going to give you an example of setting boundaries as a codependent person. If you are a person that suffers codependency, it is easy for, let's say, I'm going to give the example of your significant other, let's say a husband or a wife. A lot of times as codependents, right, People that are codependent, they love their spouse, they love their boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, right? That is the person they're closest to, the person that they feel cannot hurt them. But what happens is it's easy to allow that person, okay, to overcome your life and not let you make proper decisions. Why? Because you want to please that person. You're scared that that person will leave you. You're scared that that person won't love you anymore. And so you want to keep the peace. You ever heard people say, well, I do this because I want to keep the peace. I want to keep the peace. I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want them to be upset. I don't want to make them angry. The moment that you are concerned about making another person angry, that right there is what I call a red flag. Why? Because you should be able to express your feelings, especially to the person you most love, especially to the person who shares your life. That is the one person that you should be able to have an open conversation and say, I don't like when this happened. I'm not happy about this. I think we should do this differently. I'm not comfortable with this. If you can't say those words without feeling fear, without worrying, without being scared of what the outcome will be, then that's a definite red flag. And that's somebody that you need to set boundaries with. That's someone that you need to sit down and be able to talk to them and be able to share your feelings in an open, loving way with open communication. If you cannot do that, that is a red flag. Okay, that is the first person that you need to set boundaries with. Why? Because you should be able to do that comfortably. Notice that I say the word comfortably. That is the key. Because some people will set down boundaries, but they are fearful. They're scared. They're doing it out of necessity and they're not doing it comfortably. So that's a red flag. You should be able to set down boundaries in a comfortable way with someone you care about. Okay. Now, when I say boundaries, remember, boundaries means many things to different people. Okay. In a relationship, do you need to compromise sometimes? Yes, there has to be some compromise. There has to be some flexibility. There has to be a give and take in any relationship. Okay. But when someone does something that you feel uncomfortable, that you feel this is not right, and I don't feel good about this, and this is not validating me, and this is not honoring me, and you feel that it benefits that person but does not benefit you, that right there is a flag, a red flag, and that is an indication that a boundary needs to be set. Okay. Now, what kind of boundaries are there? There's physical boundaries. Physical boundaries are, you shall not hit me, you shall not touch me, you shall not yell at me, you shall not, intimidate me. Okay. Those are what we call physical boundaries, things that you will not allow to be done to you. Okay. On a physical basis, those are physical boundaries. Then we have emotional boundaries. You will not belittle me. You will not make me feel less than. You will not make me feel guilty. Okay. You will not intimidate me. You will not yell at me for no reason. You will not lie to me. Okay. Now, boundaries are meant to be twofold, right? So what I'm saying is, you ask the person, please don't yell at me. I don't allow for you to yell at me. I'm not okay with you yelling at me. But then you also have to not yell at them. So it's one of those situations where, and this is why setting a boundary is important, because setting a boundary is respect, right? What do you do to be able to be respected? You need to respect, right? When we respect others, we expect respect in return, right? So in other words, it's important for you to start learning how setting boundaries will help you become less codependent, and learning that what your limitations are, what makes you feel uncomfortable and what doesn't, what is okay and what is not okay. And most important, self-love. Focus on loving yourself, on boosting your self-esteem, and on seeing what your value is. When you do that, it'll be easier for you to start overcoming codependency. We have 30 seconds, so Sorry, I think I talked a little bit too much, but was that helpful? Does that give you kind of a background on codependency? Anybody have any questions? Anything I can answer or no? Okay. Well, I hope that was helpful. And that gives you a little bit of insight on codependency and what it is and what you can do about it. So, and just so you know, men can be codependent too, believe it or not. Thank you.
So are you ready for the next step? We have 15 minutes left. Okay. So what I want to do is have you bring out your papers, and we're going to write goals right now, because now we have them right in front of us when we've been talking about things that we want to have done. So I want you to write down your goal, and you're going to write it in present tense. You're going to write it like it's already happening. And you want to put a time frame to it. So you want to put a month, day, and year, not put like in a week or in a year or in 5 years, but put a month, a day, and a year. And this doesn't mean that if you don't finish it to that at that date, that there's something wrong, or that you need to shame yourself or feel guilty about it. No way. You get to edit as you get closer. But that also doesn't mean that you have a, a way out or a window out. It means that you're going to commit to it till that day. And if you see that that day is not going to work out ahead of time in a month or 3 weeks or a few weeks before, you get to edit that. You get to shift it, but only for a little bit, a day or two, a week, 2 weeks. But you commit yourself to having it done in that time frame. Okay? Does that make sense? Because you get to be flexible with yourself and love yourself throughout. So everybody have their goals in present tense and your time frame already. Okay, let me know if you need more time. So now you're going to write 3 to 5 reasons of why you want this goal. What is the reason this goal is important to you? Now, I like to have the most important reason at the bottom, the next important reason next above that one, and the least important reason at number 1, because I can write it that way and I could have it in my purse. And whenever I don't feel very motivated, I can look at it. And if the first one doesn't really work for me that day because it's just not going to help me, it's not going to give me motivation, then I'll go to the second one. So rather than putting it, priority first and then the most important first and then going down to the least important, I put it the other way. So I get to read it, and if it doesn't motivate me, then I'll go to the second one. If that doesn't motivate me, then I know the last one's going to motivate me. Get it? I see you, Jamie. You're done. When you're done, just look up at me so I know. That's Nova. Good. Okay. We have a few people are already done with this one. I am going to go to the next one, and you can finish this one as we go. Number 4 is know what you're willing to give up to make time for it. What is the sacrifice you're willing to give up, right? With the example of planning your meals on Sunday so that you eat more naturally, you would be giving up your Sunday morning jog or your Sunday morning Netflix binge or something for to be able to plan your meals, for example. And with any goal that you set, there's always going to be an obstacle here and there. So thinking ahead of time of what might be the obstacle that can keep you from reaching your goal and writing them down, however many they might you can think. And then next to it, what you're going to do if that happens so that your dream can come true. This part is super important because now you are setting yourself for success because you're finding solutions before they're here. And you have other sisters here that you can ask what obstacles might happen and what you can do about it, either now or when you're in the moment. One of the tricks of the trade is to write down your goal the way that you wrote it down in present tense in different like sticky pads, sticky notepads, and putting them in different places in your house, in your wallet, in your lunchbox, in your bathroom mirror, by your night table. And since that goal, always coming to it, and then it's going to be right in front of your face, reminding you. So what a lot of the successful people say, the research says that if you read it out loud and you read it 3 times, the third time that you read it, it really your brain starts to really recognize that's something that is going to happen. And if you do that 3 times, so you read it 3 times in the morning and 3 times in the middle of the day and 3 times at night, then your brain will recognize that that's going to happen. And how your brain will actually believe it is by visualizing it, putting it in your, like, closing your eyes before bedtime and seeing yourself with your achieved goal already done. You're there. You have achieved it. You can smell it. If there's something to eat, you taste it. Hear what's around you. Who's going to be there when you achieve it? What people are going to say when you achieve it? How you're going to be dressed? What your makeup's going to look like? What your hair is going to look like? What shoes you're going to wear? Like, really, really recognize that you're going to be there one day, and what's that going to look like? Visualizing it daily. If you read it to yourself out loud 3 times a day, 3 times a day, so it's 9 times, and you visualize it, there's no way that you can go wrong. Like, you'll get it done. If you want something bad enough, that's the trick. And finally, when you're finished with the whole thing, everything that you wrote, sign it. Then you can put something like, I'm committed to this, and then sign it. And so you make yourself a self contract that you're going to have this done for yourself. Okay, we're nearing the end. We have 5 minutes left. And what I want to do next, when you're done with, you could finish your goals as we go, is we're going to pull a name today. Ali, are you here? Yeah. Write down the names of everybody that's here in little pieces of paper, and you can put it in a bag and then take one out, or you can put them in like we did yesterday in a
Yeah, I did
line.
it.
Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to give today, I give you guys, one person, a cord cutting session. And what's a cord cutting? Okay, well, you might want to take a picture of this before I go into the cord cutting. Okay, so everybody that you meet will have an ethereal cord to you in some part of your ethereal body. Everybody you meet but especially those who are spending more time with you and those who you are emotionally attached to, parents, partners, kids, ex-lovers. And they're colorful and beautiful if you were to be able to see it. If they were visible, they're beautiful and thick if you have beautiful relationships with them. But if you don't, those cords, even though they're invisible, are very dark. And the energy that goes from that cord in and out is negative. And those are the cords that you attach with people who are negatively impacting you in your life and that you have emotional bonds with that are not necessarily good for you. So, like, this is an example of a woman attached to a man with different cords, and um, he is a person that is asking her to do things, right? And she feels rotten about it. He's asking her to tell him that she loves him, to pay attention to him, to take care of him. So he is very needy, and she is having to put forth a lot of energy for him. This doesn't mean that he's a bad person. It's just not a healthy relationship for her. And even though he might be nice, it's not working out for her. So what she can do is she can cut those ethereal cords, the energy cords, and when she does that, she won't it won't be like this person will leave. It won't be like you're cutting that person out of your life. But the energy that you have been putting towards this person and the emotional attachment that you have towards that person is released. And so now you're able to protect yourself by setting boundaries and recognize where there's the codependency and be able to have a healthy relationship with somebody else. If that makes sense? Okay, everybody getting this? Okay. So these are some reasons why you want to cut cords: releasing karmic ties, eliminating negative energies, cutting unconscious family patterns, and cutting cords. You can do it even every day if you want to. So we're going to give a cord cutting session, and this is my phone, and this is my email, and Ali is going to pull a name out of a bag. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing, and before I do stop sharing, I want to tell you that your homework, your soul work, it's to do one thing in excellence in the next 24 hours and commit to it, whatever it is. And then tomorrow we're going to share about what it was. And if you don't do it in full excellence and you're not like super 100% that it was excellence, it's okay. Nobody is going to judge you. You don't get to judge yourself. You get to be flexible with yourself. Just commit to doing it as excellent as you can do it in the next 24 hours. Does that make sense? Yeah? All right. So now, who gets the prize, Ali?
Okay, so I put everybody's name like on a little piece of paper, and then I folded it, and then I don't have a basket, so I have this. So I'll just mix it up. Let's see the one. Let's see the names. So the winner is going to be Tassanova. Congratulations,
Ah,
Tass.
Coming. That's in my heart. Yay!
Yay.
all right. Reach out to me and we'll schedule it. And JB, you still have to schedule your palm reading.
Yes, I emailed you.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I sent you an email. It was like, I think early this morning that I sent it, or late last night.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I
Oh,
haven't
it's
seen
okay.
it. Okay. Okay, so tomorrow, Wednesday, we've been doing a lot of enchantress work, but tomorrow we're going to start priestess work. And Lisette is going to talk to you and tell you a little about the goddesses that we use when we open the quarters in the new moon circle or in the full moon circle. So you get to know them a little bit. And there's more stuff coming up tomorrow. We're going to have another breakout room, and we're going to show you there's some priestess practices that we do with ceremonies and things like that. My specialty is house blessings. So I know how to bless homes. I love it. And that's what I would teach you if you're in my class, in my breakout room. And if you're in Lisette's breakout room, she's going to teach you what you get to do if you find someone that's going to pass away. and how you can make that person's transition peaceful and loving, and how you can help the family that is letting go of someone they love. So these are priestess practices, and we are going to show you a little bit about it. We're not going to show you how to completely, but we're going to show you how you can, a little bit about it and how it helps. And it's going to be nice. So that's part of tomorrow's. And I'm hoping to see some of you or all of you